Howdy, howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 14 of Cold Beers and Curveballs. As always, I am Chase Almy.
I'm Corey Stevens.
And we are hanging out today in a very, very quiet room, and we have a lot of news for you. That almost kind of rhymed. Almost. I feel like a car salesman. It's a hell of a sale. So, Corey, how's the week been? How's the week going?
It's hot.
It is getting hot down here in the south. It's another day of 105 heat index. And you know what? If anybody in Arizona is listening and they're like, quit your bitching, it's 121 degrees out here. It's a dry heat, and I did not believe in that until I visited Phoenix and I could actually breathe in the summertime and still stay outside. Mm-hmm. Come down here where your sweats. At least it's not as bad as it is in Houston. So Houston is like the armpit of America, but
all I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Hey, where do they stay, Corey?
And they stay there, and they stay there.
So it seems that the Houston Astros can't lose. I mean, they are struggling a little bit right now, but
Chase.
Yeah.
Chase, did you notice that they lost 2 or 3 against the Rangers?
Oh no, I didn't even see that. What?
Chase, I thought you watched baseball occasionally.
Oh no, man, I have.
You purport yourself to be a baseball expert.
Yeah, I know, right?
And then you missed out on Houston.
I did miss out on the Houston deal.
Chase,
I don't know what's going on.
4-6 in the last 10. They
Oh,
started
no.
losing. You're going to have to find a new song for them,
Oh
Chase.
no, I'm gonna have to find a totally new song.
Yeah, they're really something. They're all the way down to 22 losses. It's pretty terrible.
45 and 22 is what I'm seeing here.
It's pretty terrible.
Hey, but they've got a 1-game winning streak going. They won their last game. Yeah, they're still 12 games up on the Texas Rangers, sitting at third. LA Angels out of nowhere sitting in 11.5 games back, 12.5 for Seattle, and 16.5 for Oakland. Kind of looking like the Billy Bean thing is done.
Look, the magic, the trick the Angels needed was for Mike Trout to go down.
I guess, man.
Everybody realized that they had to actually play baseball and not just be a one-man show.
Yeah, they were 6-4 on their last 10, just like the Rangers are sitting right now, 6-4. So. We've got some big news going on right now. Let's just go ahead and recap back. I know this is a little old. We're a little late on some of the news, but more racism, which is something that seems to be the topic of choice for this season, has happened again.
Yeah, it's your topic of choice.
Dude, it's not my topic. Hey, I'm not out saying these things, okay? I'm just reporting them. So we had 2 instances. Mike Schmidt, who is a world-renowned Philadelphia Philly, probably one of the most famous Phillies out there. They had him on, I guess, when you're old and you wake up in the morning and you're on a talk show, you say whatever comes to mind, like Peter Gannon's, Cubs are getting Bryce Harper. What does Mike Schmidt decide to say? Yeah, we can't build a team around, it was Herrera.
Yeah, Cabrera.
No, Herrera. Abdul Herrera.
Oh, Herrera. Gotcha.
Which is apparently played the same position as Mike Schmidt.
Also a former Ranger.
Yes.
Way back when he was young in the A-ball, maybe.
So he gets on this radio show and he says, my honest answer to that would asked if Herrera could be the team they build the new franchise.
I mean, he looks like he's going to be the centerpiece because he's the most talented position player they have.
Right.
And so it's a logical question. Hey, can we build the Phillies around this guy?
Right. And Mike Schmidt's logical answer is my honest answer to that would be no, because of a couple of things.
No.
First of all, it's a language barrier. Because of that, I think he can't be the guy that would sort of sit in a circle with 4 or 5 American, I'm going to say white players, and talk about the game or try and learn about the game or discuss the inner workings of the game because, he's not white, so he's not going to learn about the game. Or come over to a guy and say, man, you got to run that ball out. Just can't be because of the language barrier. That kind of player.
I'm sure that Spanish-speaking baseball players would have a real tough time chewing their teammates' ass when they don't hustle. You think that's gonna be a problem?
I mean, it's one of those things I think where it.
I don't think it's gonna be a problem, Chase.
It's
because
not.
all you do is you just yell, and it doesn't matter what language it is.
We understand.
You
if
understand
if
that you're
done
being yelled
this-
at for what you did wrong.
Right. If you do this, you understand where it's at. I really do feel like though Mike Schmidt may have just taken 3 or 4 Donald Trump tweets, put them together, and made a sentence.
Look,
I feel like that was kind of what was happening. But the Northeast apparently is where all racism still happens. So all these people who are like, "Oh, the South will rise again, you bunch of hypocrite racists." Yeah, we ain't saying that in Houston and Texas, okay? That's the thing.
There might be an exposure problem because last I checked, Houston is well exposed to their Hispanic baseball players. Correa, Altuve, who we got in major ones? Sure, we'll just go with that.
Then you have
maybe? No.
Beltran.
Okay. Anyway, we got some players with Hispanic heritage.
Yeah, you
the
got
Rangers.
Elvis.
Elvis.
Pretty much everybody but your first baseman in the infield.
Exactly.
Catcher and first base.
Exactly.
That's it.
Where's Elvis from? I forget, but obviously Madura's from Venezuela. Elvis is from.
I want to say Dominican Republic. Yeah, Venezuela's Odor.
Beltre is Dominican as well.
Yes.
Like everybody in Texas knows that Beltre is the leader of the Texas Rangers.
And
Full
you think
stop.
there's a language
The
barrier
end.
there?
Well, no. I think he has an accent still, and it really doesn't matter. And I think if Adrian Beltre chews your ass, he can say it in Japanese for all you care. You're gonna fix whatever you did wrong.
That's exactly it. I mean, here's the thing: is you have to understand that things don't change overnight.
Oh my goodness.
Pudge Rodriguez has lived in Texas since
Exactly,
1991,
Pudge Rodriguez.
and he still calls it a Papa Jans. It just some things just don't ever change,
Exactly.
But the thing is, though, is Mike Schmidt wasn't the only racist for the day. Also, Jerry Remy. I love Jerry Remy. I like to listen to Jerry Remy talk. He's the Boston Red Sox
TV
guy. He says during the heated Yankees Red Sox game, Tanaka has a translator that comes out to help him understand what's going on. Jerry Remy later on says that he feels like that should be illegal and that he should learn the language of baseball.
Did you hear what I wish we had a clip this to play because his partner on TV looks at him and says, "What? Like, oh really? Tell me why you feel that way." And he just doubles down on it, and he's like, "Yeah, it's lack of connection. He needs to learn the language of baseball. He needs to learn the language. Why's he got a translator?"
Yeah, he also says it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. You break it down pretty easy between pitching coach and pitcher after a long period of time. So, I mean, I do know that a lot of times when a manager or a pitching coach goes out to talk to a pitcher, it is basically to buy themselves some time.
Sure.
When they buy, that's a lot of what a visit to the mound is. When you start getting into this, Yu Darvish had a translator for a while, and we're he's in his
4 or 5. I feel like
4 or 5.
He was injured for
He missed that one full season. Yeah.
So here's the thing.
In 4 seasons, he's been able to come up with not having a translator. But he also was called into the office and was like, "Hey, you're a pretty shitty teammate." And he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize that because in Japan, I just come and pitch. That's all I'm supposed to do." And they're like, "Nah, that's not really what you do." So he stopped having the translator. He honestly knows more Spanish than he does English. He really does.
I don't know if that's a valid point, but sure. I think there was definitely a little bit of that. You're not really meshing with your teammates because you're just sitting in your Japanese bubble, sort of.
Right.
Well, I think when you spend 4 years surrounded by people speaking English, you pick up the language. If you put forth a little bit of effort to pick up the language, you pick up the language.
Right.
I don't see, sure, if Odrigo Herrera was year one, A, he wouldn't be the leader, and then B, his English might not be great.
Right.
But once he's with the team for years and he's in America for several years, he's gonna learn the language if he takes his job seriously. As
His
in
job?
his job. Your job is to hit the baseball, but then when it's understood that we want you to be the leader of the team, then you know that you have to communicate.
Right.
Anyway, I think it's ridiculous. Of course, there's a little bit of a language barrier.
Of course.
Yeah, there's a language barrier in kitchens, in restaurants. There's a language barrier in, when it's on a construction crew and maybe the foreman doesn't speak the Spanish, or all sorts of times. But it just takes a little bit of effort, and you can start bridging those gaps. And so much of communication is nonverbal anyways that it's really irrelevant just because the guy's speaking Spanish or not.
Well, and that's kind of what was said. Both of them apologized for their statements because they are old school, and I think it's something that they didn't really realize they were being a racist or whatnot. But then a week later, Jerry Remy finds out, hey, got cancer again, so he's out for a little while to have his surgery. He's hoping to be back for the All-Star break. This is his fourth time, his fourth battle with cancer. Yeah. So we wish Jerry Remy the best on healing, coming back. Maybe when you come back, don't talk about the Japanese. It's always, I think it's been a rule since about the 40s. You just don't do it. And that is that. But that story was also overshadowed by Davis Price. David Price. David Price. He let the media know, I'm only going to talk on days that I pitch, and was
he can do that, right?
Yeah, and one of the writers waited around to talk to him after because players they have certain people that they'll talk to, certain people of the media.
Sure.
Definitely found out yesterday that I'm not one of those people, and
you got to build those relations.
you got to build those relations, and you probably shouldn't do it when someone goes 0 for 4 in a AA rehab stint.
I wonder who that was.
Yeah, not dropping any names. I'll let you know. He plays for the Rangers this year. Mystery ball player. But no, the writer came up to talk to him. He was on an interview on TuneIn Radio, MLB at the Plate, and basically David Price goes off on him and says, what were you doing? He's like, I was giving you some space, waiting to talk to you. He's like, write whatever the fuck you want to, and continue to go on. Also talked to the Boston Globe, pretty much told them, hey, write whatever the fuck you want to. I don't care. I'm only talking to you guys. So I'm not quite sure what happened. I know this happens from time to time. His first outing out back, he looked like shit. He didn't look like the David Price that the Red Sox signed. So it's pretty much everything's fallen back onto Chris Sale in that rotation, which had another lights out performance.
But a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bats did not show up to help him out.
Yeah.
But we living in Texas and watching the Rangers have known about that, especially last year with Yu Darvish.
Yeah, but if you want to know a crazy Yu Darvish stat, I was heard this.
I don't.
Speaking of run support, though, I think it's 4 runs that it might be 5, but he's undefeated in the last year and a half. If he gets 4 runs of run support,
right?
Could be 5, but it's so many times that he's not even gotten 4 runs, and that's other times he's like, oh, you give me a run in the first inning and maybe 4 runs through 6, dude, he's gonna win the game. He of course he has some struggles. We've talked about him, the way he pitches around people, his first inning struggles, which are weird. But give him just a little bit of run support, and he gets some confidence, and he will give you, like the other day, a 1-hitter through 6, and it's pretty good to watch.
Oh yeah, no, he is definitely one of those. He is almost similar to a knuckleball pitcher where you just kind of have to ride it out a little bit, ride it out. He's one of those pitchers that doesn't have that good old Make America Great Again
Or are you
pitching
saying there's a
styles.
language barrier?
I'm saying there's a pitching barrier.
Chase with
yeah.
the quote. He's
Chase
gonna be
is gonna
walking
get the
that
quote.
back.
Oh boy, here we go. But no, he's one of those pitchers that you give him time and you let him do what he does. He can get you some wins. But also, we got some good news coming back though. We got Tyson Ross is back.
Pitching tonight.
Yes, he is pitching tonight against the Mariners.
Mm-hmm.
He's got, nobody really knows what's going to happen. He's had some rough, shaky outings in minor league. But from what I understand, though, is with the minor league rehab
Right.
stints.
It could be sort of like spring training.
Well, with pitchers, a lot of times they'll work on a specific thing.
Right.
And that's one thing, like, you can't really judge the numbers. Maybe he was only working on certain pitches,
Yeah.
and he was working
They
on
might have
certain
been
locations,
predictable.
things like that. Like, hey, it looks like tonight he's only working on placement, things like that.
For the Rangers' sake, we better hope that's the story.
Right,
Because he did get hit around multiple times in AAA.
right.
Not real encouraging, but hey, look, we had huge question marks on Andrew Kashner, and Kashner's been invaluable for us. He's been pitching extremely well when he has runners on, which keeps the runs low, even though his stuff hasn't been electric. His ERA has been good, and he got hit around a couple of times lately, but he had some great starts. So what we're looking for from Tyson Ross is essentially the same. I think Tyson Ross might have more skill than Kashner, more potential therefore. Bannister is definitely on his side. Bannister is talking about how great he is and how much potential he's got. So the Rangers have him for 1 year, and no other team took a chance on him after his injury, and so we're just rolling the dice. And the Rangers rolled the dice on Kashner. They've been fine with that. The Rangers rolled the dice on Napoli. We're unsure about what we got back from Napoli, but we're rolling the dice on Tyson Ross, and we're going to see how good of a starter we got.
Yeah. No, Ross, if he can pitch like he did a little while ago, he
For the Padres, he
Yeah,
had an
he
incredible year.
held
He
his
had a
own.
great year. I think he was an all-star pitcher.
oh boy.
We're going to talk about all-star now?
No, I am so ready to get to the end of this episode because I've got some great news that just popped up. But no, so also other good news, Carlos Gomez, he hit a home run in
there we
his
go.
first at bat this last night against in Frisco. I believe they were playing Corpus Christi or San Antonio.
Yeah, I think so.
Was it San Antonio?
Yeah.
He looked really good. He played in the outfield. He got 7 innings worth of work. They're reevaluating him today, so we could see him maybe not in the lineup tonight, but maybe Saturday or on Father's Day he should be back. Looks like Napoli's going to spend a little bit more time down. He went 0 for 4 last night, 0 for 5. I went on trying to get Mike Napoli to talk for the show. And probably did some more damage to that relationship than I did any.
Chase, I thought you were going to name drop.
Sorry. He was not thrilled with his performance.
No, nobody was.
No.
But-
No, he went 0 for 4 AA stint, which could,
Look,
we can't sit here and say that he's
you can't judge his. Look, I mean, he's got a whole season of body of work, right?
right.
So one game is one game. Who cares? But I mean, even against lesser competition, it's the same song and dance. It's a strikeout, swing and miss.
He'll always be he will be
I get
a
that,
very.
That's fine, but I want an OPS like Joey Gallo if I'm going to have that many
Right.
strikeouts, and he hasn't been performing.
He will
the same way.
be very much along the line with the strikeouts as Adam Dunn was. But he's also not getting us extra base hits. He's not hitting with run. He's not, getting productive outs. I would take a person who will fly out and score an RBI more than I will anything else.
Right. Yeah, but so we had the injury news. So we got good news. Carlos Gomez coming back. We have some.
But I guess last night's 0 for 4 performance was good enough for him to reactivate him, right?
Seems like breaking from a few minutes ago that he's going to be activated, and Dario Alvarez is also.
Look at this breaking news we're bringing. Way
In
better
recall.
than Obsessed with Baseball podcast on SoundCloud.
But check this out. Rua and Profar are going down. Now, Profar doesn't surprise me. He always seemed like a temporary Band-Aid.
Right.
But Rua going down is kind of interesting.
Yes.
You just don't have room for him anymore because Gomez and...
Well, I mean, you got Elvis, Nomar, and Chu. You know, Nomar and Chu are out there. They're hitting very well.
Nomar's been great.
It's something that, will happen. Let's hit a few more spots here because we do have Geoff Freeborn waiting in the background to have a nice little discussion with us. But a big deal happened last week with Scooter Jeanette, a little small dude from
If you're saying who,
so
are we.
Yeah, some little freaking small dude for the Cincinnati Reds cranks out 4 homers, one of them being a grand slam. So,
watching those highlights, I was like, man, this guy, he was just feeling it. Whatever smoothie he ate that day.
Yeah,
he was
definitely.
feeling it.
We can
Because,
get
you
Jamba
can
Juice on the
see-
phone about that one.
Dude, I think he would come up to the armpit of Aaron Judge, maybe the belly.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked like a, who was that Angels guy? Eckstein?
Yes.
David? Yeah, that's who he looked like.
He's kind of almost like a David Murphy build
He is
too.
just, a hustle player, and you're like, man, how did he get 4 of these out here? It was probably the most unlikely 4 home run performance you might ever see.
And Aaron Judge is just taking his 3-ring circus of home run performance on the road everywhere. He got an MVP chance started in Anaheim while they were out there. Has the fastest exit velocity on any home run since they've started recording at 121 miles an hour.
Yeah. He doesn't need to hit 4 home runs a game when he's hitting 2 in one game. I mean, he hit
that one in the upper deck of the Rogers Center
and that was
during batting practice a couple of weeks
I was
ago.
talking about the one in the game, Yankees game. That was 500 feet. He's on fire. He's the best power hitter in the game right now.
I think him and Eric
I know
Thames
that
are going to
changes
be.
every month. Thames was the best early in the season. Gallo had a few weeks where he was lights out. Judge is lights out right now.
I think
It's a pleasure to watch, really.
I think the excessive drug test is going to be moving on to Aaron Judge if he keeps that up.
Oh, come on. I don't think he's juicing.
And looks like Tony Barnett is down on the DL with a strained right ring finger.
Phantom injury? Question mark?
Yeah, that
question
seems
mark?
kind of like when we did the.
When we sent Dyson down? 'Cause
Yeah,
Tony Barnett, he's been sucking real hard. Let's be honest. But yeah, we got Dario Alvarez here to replace him. It looks like.
that kind of seems. That kind of seems like when we had the deal with Sam Dyson and the hand contusion. He did take a ball back, and it was really softly hit. I think.
Are we gonna
Just kind of looking at the excuse.
Should we start speculating if Tony Barnett's going to be with the team?
Is he going to DFA or I don't know. Tony Barnett may be able to pull it together.
Maybe. Yeah.
But let's get out of that right now. We've also got some other stuff coming up this weekend, all the way through next week, and the weekend after that. We will have, the College World Series starts up.
Series, what?
Yeah, so it is all set. It starts up tomorrow. So on Saturday, we've got Texas A&M, TCU, and LSU for the southern areas for people who, follow the ball, follow college baseball, looking for something. The Horns were able to pull it out in 3. There was a lot of good games during the Super Regional. But starting tomorrow, there is Oregon State and Cal State Fullerton, LSU and Florida State. Those are going to be the games for tomorrow. That's going to be in the bracket 1. Bracket 2 will start on Sunday with Louisville and A&M and Florida and TCU. I think the A&M TCU would be a fun one to watch.
For sure. I mean, potentially, they have to book win.
Yeah, they would
But
have to
yes,
book them.
yes, that would be fun.
Yes. And so that will sum that up. Florida and Louisville there's honestly not that Oregon State's the only 1 seed that made it in.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt didn't make it in.
Yeah.
A lot of the heavy hitters didn't make it.
And the thing about Oregon State is one of their star pitchers is being investigated for, I think potentially it's like sexual assault charges. Something going
Right.
on with one
And
of their
he's
pitchers,
not
and he's not with the team.
He's not with the team
So
this
they're
time.
without one of their best players. It looks like it's anybody's series to take. Personally, I'm going to be going for A&M and LSU, seeing as those are the family connections that I have. That would be entertaining. Good old A&M LSU College World Series. But yeah, we got no South Carolina. These are going to be a boo.
No one cares about A&M. We only want to talk about winners. So, I mean, yeah. So let's definitely. I think this coming week we're going to have somebody on that has a little bit of knowledge about some college baseball.
That'd be sweet.
Oh,
you're saying not me?
Yeah, definitely not Corey. Somebody that actually follows college baseball, has been in college baseball for a while, and in other college baseball news, though, the coach for Southeastern Oklahoma State University, he finished Division II baseball this season with the most career wins. His name's Mike Matheny, not the Mike Matheny in St. Louis, but a much older Mike Matheny. He's been there since 1981. He broke the wins record for most wins in D2 college. Decided to hang it up after that, and we're going to work on maybe trying to get some of that old school knowledge in on a show. Maybe we can get him to talk the College World Series.
Nice.
But we are here now with Geoff Freeborn for our part of our interview series that we've started up here on Cold Beers and Curveballs. Geoff Freeborn is out of Alberta, Canada as a sidearm pitcher with 4 years of Indie League ball. He's been able to coach others, so welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, so why don't we kick things off with just kind of giving us a little information on what Sidearm Nation, sidearmnation.com is.
Yeah, I mean, just briefly, like when I dropped down in pro ball, there wasn't much really online on it. So I guess kind of when I got into coaching afterwards, kind of came up with the idea to kind of create a site for sidearm submarine pitchers, and basically initially it was just going to be it's a free ebook with interviews of kind of current former pro guys that pitch from there, and kind of turned into doing about 4 or 5 camps a year, just specifically for side sub guys, and then kind of did a little apparel line as well on the side. So definitely wasn't my intention to do the camps and the apparel part, but it just kind of grew into that. So it's been kind of a fun side project. I coach full time now, but Sidearm Nation's kind of on the side as well. So.
All right. So, how many guys do you have in the Sidearm Nation? Would you say?
I mean, camp wise, we probably get about 30 to 40, give or take, each camp. Like I said, we run about 4 or 5 per year, and then just get countless emails from guys throughout the year and try and help them out that way. And then, just various social media, even on our Facebook group, we got about 1,000 guys, and just kind of a way for them to connect with each other and honestly just ask questions kind of within each other. So not just to me. So that's kind of a fun way to kind of get those guys all connected together. So I guess in a way that Facebook group is kind of what my original idea of the site was, and just kind of an easier way to do it, I guess, through Facebook. So.
Right, everybody's on Facebook. I didn't even know there was really 1,000 guys that were out there throwing sidearm submarine.
You gotta count friends and family.
You gotta count your friends and families and the guys that promote the cause. What would you say, going now from when you started throwing sidearm to maybe when, like this draft that's going on right now, would you say there's probably more that are going to be in that than there was 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. Like even just the past 3 or 4 years, there's been a few more sidearm submarine guys that have gotten drafted out of college. You look at the College World Series the past few years, the teams that have won. Coastal Carolina had a submarine guy in the pen. UCLA with David Berg a few years ago, and I think more and more MLB teams are looking at drafting some guys from there instead of having to drop them down when they're struggling in single A or double A. So, and I think more and more colleges are recruiting high school kids that are pitching from there, and instead of having to drop a kid down that's struggling in college. So, yeah, it's definitely growing. I think more colleges and pro teams are realizing that they need a couple guys from there, kind of definitely in their pen to kind of help them out.
Oh yeah.
Hey, that's awesome, and it's awesome that you get to be kind of a catalyst for connecting players that are doing this, and knowing that they can find even sort of a testimonial of success in all these other people.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the fun part of it too, and just connecting with college coaches all over and kind of being able to help players out, kind of finding a program that's actually looking for a guy like them, and a lot of players kind of maybe get lost a little bit in that recruiting part, but kind of being able to specifically find them a coach that's looking for a sidearm or submarine pitcher, and kind of when they're able to connect and see how they do in college, that's kind of been the fun part for me.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. That you gotta find coaches that are willing to roll with that. So I just had some questions, like for you personally, in your as you say, when you dropped down, in your path to doing that and what you wrote on the site. So what is it about the different delivery that helped reduce the pain that you were feeling? What is it about the mechanics that you think they helped?
I mean, at the end of the day, your shoulder's actually designed to throw underhand. If you look at softball teams, their pitchers are throwing basically 3 out of the 4 games on a weekend. I remember the one school I was at, basically the one pitcher threw all 4 games in a doubleheader in a way, and it's easier on your shoulder. Every time you throw overhand in a way, it's you're causing damage to your shoulder, elbow. I mean, who knows? Give or take, throwing sidearm, submarine, it's still, you're putting some stress on your arm. But I think overall, at the end of the day, it is easier on your arm if you're throwing properly, still using your legs and all that stuff. So, for me personally, I had tons of shoulder issues. And then just when I initially dropped down, it was basically like I was given a new life to pitching, and actually made it fun again for me.
Nice. So when baseball people talk about strain on the arm when pitching,
Mm-hmm.
they always talk about the slider being really hard. Is it kind of a different equation when you're pitching the sidearm, that maybe certain pitches are the same amount of strain and certain pitches are less? Do you see what I'm saying? Comparatively,
yeah,
or is it about equal?
From down under, it is going to be a slider. You can't throw a curveball from there, obviously.
Right.
I mean, if you're throwing a slider properly, and using your arm speed actually instead of your wrist, it can be no worse than a curveball. Or I think overall, whatever arm slot you're at, if it's really where if you're not strong enough and you don't have the arm speed to throw it, then you're starting to use your wrist to kind of catch up, and that's where it can start to cause some problems on your elbow, and if you're just physically not ready to throw it. But at the end of the day, if you're strong enough and throwing it properly, for me, it's no worse than throwing a curveball.
Sure. And so, do you think, obviously with kind of coaching this, you have a vested interest in this, but do you think that older pitchers, maybe pitchers who have been in the majors, or maybe have dropped down, or maybe been an independent all the way down, all the way until they're 30 or something, do you think they should try and switch their arm angle to just to freshen things up and make all the old tape irrelevant and change things up on batters?
You'll see. It happens where guys it's basically just a last resort. If they or at a late stage in their career and feel that that's going to be it, then why not? I mean, that's kind of why a lot of those guys have dropped down. There's a few guys that even right now, like I was reading about Daniel Bard. I don't know, he might be in AAA with the Cardinals. He's trying to make a comeback as a sidearm pitcher, and basically it's the last chance for him. I mean, no one was really going to take him as an over-the-top pitcher anymore, so he kind of chose to drop down, and why not? And then basically got re-signed because of that. It was just kind of a new look, and he was open to doing it. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of half the battle. If you're not open to trying it, though, it's never going to work.
Now, Geoff, this is Chase again.
Yep.
So you're talking about how this sidearm pitching can, rejuvenate a career. I'm 28 years old. I'm 5'10", and I'm about 248 pounds. If I can learn to throw a submarine knuckleball, what are my chances of getting it?
An affiliated ball?
An affiliated ball.
I mean, if you can perfect that knuckleball, hey, you never know, right?
Right, I could be right up there. I could be doing something. That was one thing. Like I've had that discussion with you. Is you look at all these sidearm submarine guys, and they're all like Sean Bradley that played for the Dallas Mavericks. They're all like 7'6" or like 6'9", long, lanky dudes. Like, is that just something that it's more natural for them, or is that a thing that they have a better advantage for, like? From a hitter's perspective, like, does that make the delivery harder to hit as if a guy that's, my height, 5'10", under 6 foot, trying to throw a sidearm? Is it?
I think that build it's just that body type. They're able to use their leverage a little bit easier, and their arms just a little more loose and whippy, and I think in a way it just ends up being a little more natural for that body type, and tend to probably pick it up just a little bit quicker. Not saying other body types can't do it. It just tends to be that taller, lankier build that just ends up being a little more successful with it, and maybe just a little more quicker with it.
Okay. So, I mean, if you're telling me there's a chance, there's probably a good chance that cold beers and curveballs will be done remotely now, as I'm moving to Canada to train with Geoff Freeborn to make my Major League Baseball debut as a sidearm knuckleballer. But
with the Canadian, all it does is just snows nonstop.
it just hey, but they've got that new prime minister that everyone talks about. Like it seems like an okay thing, but I mean, really pitchers that I really know that are sidearm. Brad Ziegler, he's what,
Yep.
87 years old.
He's getting there. He's probably 37, 38.
Yeah, because I think his first strikeout was who? DiMaggio? I think that's who his first strikeout was against. And then, we got to watch Pat Neshek
Yep.
and Darren O'Day a lot here in Texas, both Houston and the Rangers. And now we're getting to watch Austin Bibbins-Dirks, which I know you did an interview with.
Yep.
I know some of them were already at a sidearm delivery when they got in. I know this story about Darren O'Day. He was adult league baseballs where he discovered to throw sidearm.
Yep.
Do you think those guys would have had much of a chance throwing over the top, or do you think that was something that, do you think Ziegler would have been here as long had he thrown over the top or three-quarter?
I interviewed Brad as well, and he was just an independent guy throwing over the top, kind of fooling around, dropping down here and there. Did end up signing with the A's, but they wanted him just to stick from that arm angle, and he flat out said that he wouldn't have made the bigs if he didn't drop down. So, the majority of the guys I've interviewed sit there in the same boat. If they didn't drop down, a couple of them probably wouldn't even made their college team. One of them, a few of them probably wouldn't even made their high school team if they didn't drop down, right? So, it's definitely something, like even Austin, he's kind of fooled around with his arm slot as well. But probably, he's a pretty amazing story, but probably wouldn't even maybe had that opportunity if he was just a regular over-the-top pitcher, really.
Yeah, he definitely has kind of an odd from the stretch. Once he comes around to that sidearm position, it almost doesn't even look like he's going to throw sidearm with it, it just kind of sneaks up on you.
Yeah. And that's probably one of the reasons that he was able to kind of keep playing as long as he did and kind of kept getting invites to spring training and stuck around in AAA. And if he was just a regular over-the-top pitcher, probably not the case, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Geoff, I think he's got a chance to be the Rangers Player of the Month, so you need to call him up again and make sure that he name drops you. He's a rising star.
Yeah, actually, I honestly haven't seen him pitch in the bigs yet. I mean, I guess how has he been throwing?
Oh, what are you doing, Geoff?
CSN isn't showing it? Your guys' off-brand of ESPN that you guys have up
it's
there?
all Blue Jays all the time, really.
Oh, man.
Oh, man, I am so sorry for you.
It's one country with one team. Is that the motto now? So
It was good for
with different arms.
for a couple of years there, I guess. But
We don't like to talk about those couple of years, Jeff. The fact that we're having this conversation right now is a big deal.
Yeah, it's some international diplomacy.
Yeah, there's like 3 types of meetings that people will talk about, and it's North Korea talking to South Korea, Palestine talking to Israel, and Texans talking to Canadians about baseball.
and here we
Would
are.
you consider? Here we are. You know, we're like ebony and ivory finally. So, would you consider Chris Sale part of this Sidearm Nation?
Yeah, I mean, essentially he's, low 3/4-ish, right? Sidearm probably once in a while. No, absolutely. I mean, he's a guy I've definitely tried to reach out to, but there's been a couple guys that have kind of let him know about the site that, and they definitely did a good job on that for me. So he's definitely a guy I'd love to interview someday. But, that's where kind of the higher level they're pitching at. If it's lower 3/4, then I'll definitely consider that Sidearm Nation for sure.
Oh yeah.
So you're saying Chris Hale thinks he's too good for you?
I'm still working on it. Yeah, that's where I have connected with the fewer bigger names, but it's just a matter of kind of getting a hold of them.
I need to hear that Chris Hale's too good for you.
He's probably a little busier than me, though. I understand it.
I mean, if you can get us somewhere with, on talking about Chris Sale, and we can get that quote, because I've been personally trying to pick a fight with Stephen A. Smith on Twitter for like 5 months now, and nothing's happening. So, but yeah, like with that different sidearm pitch,
Oh, sure. Like the other day, Clayton Kershaw was messing around. It seemed like just out of the blue, and he dropped his arm angle and threw some breaking balls. I think he struck the guy out in 3 pitches. Do you think it's spreading amongst coaches, or do you just think he was playing around, or do you think he's the next member of Sidearm Nation?
At the end of the day, he probably really, he's a pitcher that probably doesn't need to be fooling around with that, really. He's pretty successful, throwing pretty well. I honestly don't know why he's kind of started to add that in. It's not like he's struggling or about to get released or anything crazy like that, but I guess at the end of the day, though, I guess it gives him just another tool to throw in there, and it makes him, I guess, even more effective against left-handed hitters. But probably not the case for most guys at his level, at how Cy Young, all that stuff. Probably don't need to be doing that, but I don't mind seeing that.
So you're saying Clayton Kershaw's stuff is really dropping off, and he needs to go to Sidearm.
Apparently, I guess, eh?
We'll see. Yeah, Max Scherzer did it with his start against Austin Dirks the other day. I was listening to the radio, and I heard him say that Max had dropped down for a couple of pitches here or there on a sidearm deal. We were going to try to make it like he was making fun of Austin Dirks and try to start some rivalry there, but it just didn't pan out real well. But yeah, it seems that there's a couple of players that have been doing that. Is that just something that trying to change the hitter's perspective of the ball coming in?
Yeah, I think what Chase wants to say is sidearm delivery just a fad?
At the end of the day, every pitcher kind of fools around with it, hey, in flat grounds in the outfield when they're, playing catch. Everyone does kind of fool around with it. Some guys, it definitely shouldn't fool around with it. It just doesn't look natural at all.
Like Bartolo Colon.
He's probably not necessarily the best best build for that, probably, you know. But I guarantee,
he's fat?
I guarantee he's athletic enough. He probably could if he really wanted to. But
So, Geoff, with this show being cold beers and curveballs, what kind of cold beer are you drinking up there in the Canada area?
I mean, actually, my favorite is it's a brand called Kokanee. I mean, it's kind of more West Coast, BC brew. It's kind of one of those things like Australia, like they think they drink Fosters, but same thing kind of in Canada. Like most people don't actually drink Molson. I mean, we do. I mean, it's probably one of those. It's more of a beer that's probably exported more, and we don't actually internally drink it. But yeah, I mean, I guess Kokanee. There's a lot of craft beer that's kind of coming up in Calgary as well, or kind of locally that I like to drink as well.
Awesome. Yeah, see, down here, it's in Texas, it's all about the craft brews. And then we have our Lone Star, which is this national beer of Texas, which is what we drink a lot here on the show. We get our tall boys going. But, I mean, sometimes when I'm feeling Canadian and I feel like, you know, I want something, I'll go grab some Molson.
I'm
they
sure
sell
they
that
do.
down here as well. It's the... yeah, it's the NHL sponsored beer, so sometimes we need that in our lives. But yeah, so you said you have a camp coming up next.
Our next
when's
camp
your
is
next
going to
camp?
be in just outside of Chicago, in Illinois, August 19th to 20th. And then we're gonna we probably, it hasn't nothing been official yet, but we're looking at Boston and Vegas, and Florida will be kind of our next 3 camps, kind of September, December, January.
And do you have any big sidearm names coming in to throw some pins? I know I saw that on your Facebook and Instagram.
I mean, we definitely try and get as many of the the former pros. We've had a couple current pros like Ben Rowan. They've been instructors at our camps in the past, and you know, as long as their arm's hanging, they'll definitely throw some pens at the camp for us. So. I tried personally not to throw them.
So no word on. Oh, you don't want to get out there and show them how it's done? I mean, you are the founder of Sidearm Nation, so you've invented all this.
I did pitch last year in a couple semi-pro tournaments, but I definitely, my shoulder is probably, it's almost done.
Are you on to those who can't do teach
phase
of your life now?
I front toss and that's my underhand throwing right now for coaching wise, so.
Okay, yeah, and you coach a national team as well, don't you?
I coach. I guess I'm kind of the pitching coach for the Team Canada for the Cal Ripken World Series. So it's kind of the 12 and under division for Babe Ruth, the Babe Ruth League. So we're going to be in Missouri in August.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, we compete against Japan, Mexico, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and try and kind of hold our own, but. You know, those programs are definitely a little bit stronger than ours, but we try our best.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of Canada, it's not always baseball isn't the first thing you think of. But you got some pros coming up. Russell Martin, a few other guys that are out there in the pros.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Canadian
I mean,
life.
even just from Calgary, we got Mike Soroka, who's in AA with the Braves right now, and he's only 19. I mean, he's going to be up there pretty soon here, and. He's going to be a guy to watch here in the near future here.
Who would you say your number one sidearm pitcher that we need to watch for coming up that you would say is somebody that needs to be on our radar?
Down the road here, he won't be eligible till next year, but he's going to be in the College World Series coming up here. His name is Chase Haney. He's with Florida State. I mean, he's a big 6'8", kind of has all the, what scouts are looking for, 6'8", 220, and I mean, with that arm angle, with that height, he's had some success the past his freshman and sophomore year, but his junior year next year, I mean, he could be a pretty high pick next year.
Awesome. Well, we will definitely keep an eye on him. We will be discussing a lot of the road to Omaha and the World Series coming up. Also, you guys should definitely check out, Geoff has a shop that is amazing. It's got a lot of cool clothes in there that you can buy. Tell us a little bit about how the
Yeah,
shirts and
no,
stuff going.
honestly, it's kind of been gradually growing. Like I kind of talked about before, it was never my initial intention, but I mean, kind of send them out to pro guys and let them kind of rep it for me. And the more they promote it, it seems like the more business I've been able to get through it. So, and that's where I personally, just to see someone wear the Sidearm Nation T-shirt, it's a pretty cool feeling to kind of see your vision kind of on someone's chest, and the hats and stuff as well, and it's a pretty cool feeling to kind of see that. So it's been fun.
So, I saw on your website for the shirts and stuff that you have one of our favorite people to talk about on Cold Beers and Curveballs, repping with you guys is Tim Tebow. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess long story short, one of my former teammates, he was a sidearm pitcher as well. He's kind of the one that taught me. He kind of trained Tim Tebow last year when he was getting into baseball there, and I was able to get a picture with his hat on, and Tim Tebow happened to kind of be on his side.
Awesome. And so, do you think Tim Tebow will be dropping down anytime soon?
What's that? Will he drop down?
You think he'll drop down anytime soon to be the next? Hey, he prayed himself a Broncos win. Maybe he can find life here as a sidearmer.
I mean, he is a lefty,
He
right?
is.
So, I mean, you do kind of get 9 lives as a left-handed pitcher, and if he can drop down, that could be a shot, right?
Hey, there you go. That might be his only. I don't know though. He's in the Mets organization. I could go play for the Mets right now, with as much of a joke as that team is. So, Geoff, thanks for being on with us. Thanks for helping us out. SidearmNation.com, Facebook.com/SidearmNation, Instagram's the same feed. Check out the camps, and definitely can't wait. We'll have you back on maybe next time. We'll discuss more beer than we will baseball.
No, thanks for having me on, Chase. I appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem, man. And with that, we are going to go into our last segment of the day with Tebow time.
Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power.
With some classic Chris Tomlin coming on, we know what that means. It is time for Tebow Watch. So Tim Tebow really not lighting it up anymore like he was. He did have a nice grab during a couple of games ago, but this is breaking news coming from SB Nation. Mark Normandin, who is a writer for them, says Tim Tebow should become a knuckleballer. Kind of goes with what we were talking with Geoff there on should Tim Tebow drop down and be a sidearm pitcher? No. The outfield thing isn't working for him, and there's really only one path besides retirement, and that looks like Mark's saying it's going to be a knuckleballer. So he's still sitting at a 226 batting average. On-base percentage is 324, which is higher than the Sally League's average of 318, but Tim Tebow strikes out a lot. And at low A ball, all they're really working on is different things to maybe try to develop a third pitch or something. So they're not really going out trying to strike guys out. That's more of like learning, practice type thing. So he's not doing really well, which would be fine if he wasn't 30 years old. So it's time to really, I think, get rid of I'm going to be this star outfielder, I'm going to be this star hitter, and really look at, hey, go learn how to throw a knuckleball and come back and talk to us. Knuckleball gets better with age. It's a lot like wine. A lot of the players, their best years were in their 30s. So that might work for Tim Tebow. He did work for it with the Broncos. But the thing is a lot of people out there were saying, hey, he's not a good quarterback. He would be a great tight end. He was like, no. I don't want to be a tight end. That wouldn't glorify God. And I'm just like, well, that's weird because about 30 minutes ago, I talked to God and he said, hey, ever thought about being a tight end? Talk to him about it. I've been trying to talk to him for a while, but he's like, nah, I know what I'm doing. So, maybe he needs to give up on the outfield dreams and become a knuckleballer. What do you think, Corey?
Well, I think he would be willing to do it if God told him that in prayer. But I think, judging by his unwillingness to switch positions in the NFL, he's probably unwilling to switch positions in the MLB.
So WWTBD says, I'm going to stay an outfielder and hit 226 at low A ball. Right there, you got to listen to him, Tim Tebow. Listen to Mark. He may be onto something. Be a knuckleballer. We don't have very many left. We've got Stephen Wright, and that is it. And we need another knuckleballer. That's great. I know it defies physics and science, and you're a creationalist. That should be why you do it.
If he's not feeling knuckleball, he's not going to knuckleball.
I guess if the knuckle doesn't knuckle, it doesn't knuckle.
Right. Did he pitch when he was younger?
I don't know what he did because he was homeschooled, and they don't really keep stats on that. They barely keep grades.
So homeschool
Okay?
baseball. I'm sure there's old videos of him playing baseball.
You know what? That's what I'm going to do for the next episode. I'm going to do some scouting on Tim Tebow baseball. On his amateur baseball career. So that, guys, will end episode 14 of Cold Beers and Curveballs. We'll be back next week, primed up in the middle of the College World Series. Hopefully more news happens, maybe more racism, since that seems to be the defining key of this season. Other than that, you guys have a great week. Keep on drinking and keep on watching that baseball. And fellas, if you have kids out there or you think you have kids, definitely enjoy a happy, happy Father's Day.
Play me some songs about